Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and there are three collecting trends that we're used to seeing on YouTube that are becoming stale in 2024. If they haven't already grown stale as it is, they'll definitely be stale by the end of this year. And I'm going to talk about those, but first, I want to talk about just this most recent trip to GameStop because I did have to go back and return some stuff. There were some pickups that I made that as I started looking at them, I was like, some of these things I don't need. So I did make a couple returns to GameStop, Xbox 360 game and a PS2 game. But while I was there, they did have, ta-da, a N64 memory card, which I don't know if I actually have one of these. I know I have an expansion pack, and I think I have a Rumble pack, or I may have an aftermarket memory card, but I did not have a genuine, like, old school, just standard memory card for the N64. So they did have one of these at GameStop, and so after my return, I went ahead and picked one of these up, just for some of the N64 games that I do have in my collection that do require that save feature. But that being said, I want to talk about three collecting trends that we've been seeing on YouTube for the last 3-4 years that I think are either becoming stale or already have grown stale. And I'm going to start off with this first one. The first one is video game collection challenges. Now, video game collection challenges were definitely fun, and they were definitely cool when it felt like people had more time on their hands. But we've seen so many different variations of collection challenges over the past few years that I think a lot of people have grown accustomed to seeing them. I don't want to say weary yet, because there are still some people who are making game collection challenges, and they're doing it in a very fun and engaging way. I'm not saying that if you make a video game collection challenge that no one will watch, because I think folks that enjoy retro gaming content on YouTube will still watch those. I just don't think that they're going to get the same level of traction that they were getting before. Now, you're always going to have exceptions to the rule, and you're always going to have outliers. For instance, Cody with a K, he does a $10,000 game collection challenge. I think he's in his second year of doing it now. But he's kind of like an outlier. He's an outlier for a few reasons. One, I think a lot of the engagement that he sees on his videos is due in large part to his production. I think he just does a good job with the production of his game collection videos, that they're very engaging, and I think it's what draws a lot of people to want to watch his videos. But he's very strategic and methodical about how he posts. He's usually dropping a video every 2 weeks, and he paces himself. He gives himself time to, aggregate the content and then put it all together in a very engaging format. So I think how he presents it definitely is what makes him an outlier. And then also how he's able to navigate his challenge, right? Like he is still doing something that I don't know if many people are have the ability to do, whether it be because of time or just opportunity, right? Or just maybe they're not willing to go the lengths he's willing to go. I've mentioned this about some of his videos in the past, and even he has said it himself. He'll do meetups at night to do like trades and stuff. And like, that's just not something that I think a lot of people are going to be willing to do. Meeting someone at night with hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of video games to do trades and pickups and things like that, that's just not something that a lot of people are going to do. Just because in a lot of cases it's just not smart, depending on where you live. Now, he might live in a part of the world where he has faith that he's going to be okay doing things like that. But again, he himself has warned his viewers not to engage in meetups at night to buy and sell video games. Again, it's just not smart. So by just virtue of that, he's kind of in a unique position, and he's given himself unique opportunities to be able to make the trades necessary to keep those game collections alive. Because without the constant Facebook Marketplace stalking and posting, and without the nighttime meetups, and without the what feels like at this point extreme lengths that he goes to make deals that are profitable enough to be able to make the challenge work, he would have no challenge. So I think that he is an outlier just based on his formatting, how he presents the content, and then the lengths he's willing to go to actually make the collection a viable collection, right? So he's an outlier. But in most other cases, unless you're a full-time reseller, like someone like a Phoenix Resale or someone of that nature, odds are you're not going to be flipping enough to acquire games that people are really going to care about. You know what I mean? If you're flipping, 20 games just to be able to pick up a copy of Super Mario World, I don't know how many people are going to watch it. People will still watch it. I'm not saying you won't have any viewers, but I just don't think you're going to get the thousands of viewers that someone like Cody with a K will get. So just in my opinion, I think that the video game collection challenges are growing stale, and we'll probably see them become like fully stale by the end of 2024, with the exception of those outliers that just already know how to make good content. The second trend that I think is going to grow stale in 2024 is just flipping content in general, like the yard sales, the flea markets, the pawn shops. I think a lot of that, sourcing from those three areas specifically, are growing stale, and I think they're going to be officially stale by the end of 2024. Why? Retro game values are no longer a secret, and I don't think they've been a secret for at least a year or so now. Most people who are having a yard sale are pricing their retro games at market value. Most pawn stores and most thrift shops, including Goodwill, including Salvation Army, including all of the staple thrift shops that you're used to, they're hip to the game. They're pricing their retro games accordingly, and so there's just not enough meat on the bone for a flipper to be able to buy those games and make any type of meaningful profit on them. Which at that point, you're really just doing all of that to make content, which there's no knock to that. But if the point of a flipping video is to show your viewers that you were able to make a profit, you're not going to be able to do that using pawn shops, thrift stores, and flea markets and yard sales. I just don't see it. And if you are able to do it, you might be able to do that. You could probably count on one hand how many times in a year you'll really come up on a really great haul or something of that nature. It's not going to be happening every week or every month for that matter. And if you do happen to have that sort of luck, or if you do happen to have that sort of success rate, it's going to be because you're sourcing every single day. I mean, that is what's taking up the majority of your time. And I just don't think even the most dedicated YouTubers or content creators are going to have the time to do that. I don't even think someone at a Phoenix Resale level has the time to do that. Hence why he made the 1UP app, so that you all could do the sourcing for him and then just send him the games that he has on his buy list, and then he's able to flip them on Amazon for a profit. So he's kind of just saved himself from having to do all of that legwork so that he can focus on interviewing people, because that seems to be the next phase of his YouTube journey. He recently just interviewed someone, I think the CEO of Limited Run, and that's really where he's headed. Although I don't think that video saw the success that he thought it would. I don't know what he was expecting out of that video. I know when he did one of his first interviews with that game store owner who was having a hard time with his game store, that video did really well. I think it did over 1 million views. I don't know about the Limited Run video though. So I don't know if he's gonna pivot, if he's gonna change his content, if he's gonna go back to collection challenges. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I don't know if that video panned out how he thought. Now, it's been a while since I've checked it. Last time I checked, it was in the 30s of thousands of views. Maybe it's gotten more since then. But again, the point of the matter is that the pawn stores, thrift shops, yard sales, that type of stuff, I think has grown stale. and I just don't see it being viable come like the end of 2024. I think people will have moved on, and I think that it's pretty much going to be a wrap on a lot of that. The last trend that I'll talk about, or that I think is the last YouTube retro gaming trend, I think that's going to be dying off in 2024 and will grow stale, is I think the collection and game room tours. I know that those are really, really big, and I've done one of those, maybe two. I did one gaming collection video that was spanned across like 5 videos, so I just broke it up into 5 different videos because I tried to just go over all the games in my collection. I did that maybe last year or a couple years ago, but I don't know if people are as interested in the dollar amounts of video games as they were before. Now, please do not, because I always get that one person who comes in my comments who says, oh, that's not true. You know, people still care. I'm not saying no one cares, right? I'm not saying that there's no one out there that cares. But what I'm saying is I don't think the masses, I don't think the same number of people care today as the amount that cared maybe 2 years ago, right? I think a lot of people have fallen off from that, primarily because really, I believe behind the scenes, a lot of people are liquidating their collections. I think that there is a quiet liquidation of retro gaming collections happening all across the country. I think this is why you're seeing a lot more retro games and just retro products in general, like GameStop. You know, and I think you're seeing it at GameStop because retro game stores are not able to pay what they were able to pay before. I remember when I was selling a lot of like my Switch games, I was able to sell those games at 75% of their value. I don't think stores are offering 75%. I think a lot of stores might be offering 60%, 55% for games that are being sold to them because they need to make their profit, and the price of retro games and video games in general aren't going up the way they were before. They've pretty much flatlined, in my opinion. I think that if you have, you know, a rare game, that game has pretty much hovered around the same price. Maybe it's gone up $5 or $10, maybe it's gone down $5 or $10, but it's pretty much stayed the same. Earlier today, I showcased a number of working designs games, including games like Vanguard Bandits and Silhouette Mirage and the Lunar series and different games like that. And a lot of those games haven't shot up 20% or gone down 20%. They pretty much hovered around the same price because in a lot of cases, retro games and highly desirable games have found their final destination. They found a home where they're probably going to stay for the next 10 to 15 years until there's another event that causes, like, maybe my generation or the generation, you know, maybe Gen Z that's gotten into collecting, when they get to the point where they're ready to liquidate their games, you know, that's when you'll probably see you know, a huge price shift like how we saw during the pandemic. I think it's going to take another major event for us to see the prices of games shift the way they did a few years ago. But I think that because of all those factors, people are just less interested in game collection tours and game room tours because we've seen so many. We've seen so many different game rooms, we've seen so many different collections, and we've seen the full spectrum of people who have 10 games and people who have every single game known to man. And those videos have already racked up the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. And there's so much content out there that people can view that I think people have a lot to snack on in terms of that type of content for years to come. Now, when it comes to all three of these trends that I'm saying are going to become stale, or if they haven't become stale already, I think the exception to the rule when it comes to all of those topics, whether it be collection challenges, flipping, from flea markets, thrift stores, and pawn shops, or just game collection tours. I think the exception to the rule is the content creator themselves. I think this is where things like personality, charisma, your viewer base, your fan base, for lack of better terms, people who just enjoy listening to you, people who just enjoy watching you. I think that's where a lot of that is going to come into play, and how you present your thoughts, your collection, your games. I think that's what people are going to be more drawn to than anything else, and your ability to just kind of grow and expound upon the games beyond their stats, like when they were made and who the developers were, and what the game is about. Just sharing personal stories, sharing your own personal experience, adding a personality to the game, I think is what's going to cause people to continue to watch and engage in that type of content. And I think that's what you'll see. So I could be dead wrong, and this is a disclaimer that I put on every video where I state my opinion, but it's my opinion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think, because I know a lot of people who follow my channel follow a lot of other retro content creators who have way more subscribers than me, and so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and know your thoughts down below. I am getting ready to go and hook up some amazing crispy buffalo wings for the evening. We're gonna chill out. It's been a beautiful Saturday. The sun has been shining. It's been gorgeous. I think it's gonna be a gorgeous evening, so I'm totally stoked about that. We are closing in on 4,000 subscribers. We just hit 3,890 subscribers, I think, today. It'll probably drop off as soon as I say this. It'll probably go back down to like 3,885 or something like that. But the point of the matter is that we are closing in on 4,000 subs, which is huge. Never thought that the channel would get to this point. And I just love the community that has grown with me. I'm seeing comments from the same people who were with me when I was at 500 subs. And the growth has been very slow and very steady, and I love it that way. I'd much rather a slow and steady growth, because that means we're all growing together. And there's definitely more to come. I've said it in the past that I want to present other topics and talk about other things on the channel, and just kind of take the channel in a new direction, both topics wise and production. I definitely want to start putting more effort into production, because I have a lot of ideas, but it's like every single time I say I'm going to do that, my actual day job, the job that pays my bills, kicks up a whole nother gear, and I have to put all the YouTube stuff down, which is probably why I've made a fraction of the videos that I was making last month. It's just work has been nuts. But I do have some stuff on the horizon. I really want to plan something special for once we hit that 4K subs, going into the second half of the summer and then going into the fall. I know YouTube consumption goes way up in the winter because we're not able to be outside as much, so just want to have some really cool things planned for you all who follow the channel. But with all that being said, I am the Y2K Collector. Hopefully you're having a great day. Again, let me know your comments down below. Am I off on these trends that are becoming stale? Let me know what you think. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.